Okay, I noticed this morning that I had 4 ripe bananas in my fruit bowl. And I'll show them to you real quick here. There they are. They've got some spots on them, so they're nice and ripe and sweet. And that made me think of this wonderful recipe that I have for banana bread that I love to make. And I usually just make it, I make it a few times a year, but I especially make it around Christmas. But it's not Christmas right now, but it is fall. And, you know, it's kind of that time of year where you want to smell, cloves and cinnamon in the air, and so it made me think I'm going to go ahead and pop this recipe together. My kids love this banana bread anyway. So this banana bread has you need 4 ripe bananas. And before I go any further, I'm going to show you, this is the actual recipe that I printed off. I've been using that for a couple of years, and I will include a link to it in my description area in case you want to try out this recipe. Some of the things that we'll use in here are dark brown sugar. Well, it doesn't call for dark brown, I don't believe. It says brown sugar, but I always use dark brown whenever I cook, bake any kind of products. I just love the flavor of a dark brown sugar. I have some organic vanilla over there. And I have some white sugar. This is just an organic white sugar. The spices you need are cinnamon and cloves. I picked up some of these ground cloves at the farmer's market earlier this week. But here I have baking powder, baking soda, and salt. That will be added to my flour, which is right here. I've already pre-sifted it. And then that little shaker right there, it says cinnamon sugar. I have to label everything. So it is cinnamon sugar. I've already pre-mixed that. That's good for if you want to have cinnamon sugar toast. You can just use it right out of your shaker. This I will use today in my little bread loaf pans. I will line this with butter, and I'll sprinkle cinnamon sugar on there. And it really gives a nice flavor to these little loaves of banana bread. This recipe does not call for that, so that's just something I do on my own. I'm going to have some salt and butter over here that's softening. I've laid out a couple of sticks because I'm using another one for another recipe later. And then the one thing on here that I wanted to point out is it calls for sour cream. Okay, and if I remember correctly, I think I stated in a previous video, I think it was spinach artichoke dip or something, that I usually do not use low-fat ingredients. And I try to cook everything low-fat, but I don't usually typically buy things like sour cream or cream cheese or something like that says that it's low fat or reduced fat or fat free even, because a lot of times I've noticed on some brands it's just loaded up with fillers to make it have the texture and taste that it's the real thing, like the really fully loaded sour cream or cream cheese. And I just don't care to eat things like that, like the chemicals and that kind of stuff in my food. So if I am making this banana bread, like I usually will make it around Christmas for friends, family, teachers, things like that, I will use the sour cream in it because it tastes really good with the sour cream. It's much more moist, and it just gives it that really good flavor. But since this is something I'm going to keep in my freezer for my family, I am going to use Greek yogurt. And this is a wonderful substitute for sour cream. It's just basically, there are no fillers or chemicals or anything. It's all natural, and it's fat-free. So I use this in place of sour cream and a lot of things, like Mexican food especially. I'll mix it up with salsa, and it's a wonderful topping for like nachos or tacos or anything that you're cooking. So keep that in mind if you ever want a replacement for sour cream, because I really cannot tell the difference. It just has a wonderful flavor. So I will use this today in my recipe, 1 cup of Greek yogurt in place of the sour cream. Now that recipe also calls for 3/4 cup of chopped walnuts. I guess you could put any kind of nut in there you wanted to. I'm just not going to put nuts in this dish. I have nuts, but I'm just like banana bread without the nuts in it. I don't know. It's just sometimes I just like to enjoy the flavor of just the banana bread. So that's what I'm going to do today, and hopefully you guys will try this recipe out if you like it. I mean, a lot of people like banana bread, and do keep it in mind, for around the holidays. It's a nice little gesture to friends and family and neighbors and teachers and things like that. give them a little something homemade. So
Okay, I have my softened butter here, and I'm going to go ahead and add my sugars and give this a good blend. Okay, now I'm going to add my egg. Okay, I need to scrape down the sides of the bowl because I'm getting a lot of just the sugar sticking up there, and I want to make sure to mix that up really well before I start adding everything else. Okay, so I just added my 1 cup of Greek yogurt in place of 1 cup of sour cream.
now the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I like to put 2 teaspoons in it. I just love the flavor of vanilla. So that's a couple of different things I'm doing to this recipe. I'm adding a crust on the outside, a cinnamon sugar crust with butter, and I'm adding a little bit more vanilla. And of course I'm substituting my sour cream with the Greek yogurt.
So 1 and 2. Okay, and then my last thing I want to add to this before I blend it up, I'm going to add my cinnamon and my cloves. There we go, and I'm going to give this a good blend before I add my dry ingredients. Okay, so now I'm going to add my baking powder, my baking soda, and my salt to the flour. This is an all-purpose flour, and I just want to combine that real well.
One more change I made to my recipe since I've been making it over several years now, is when you blend in the butter and the sugar and the spices and vanilla and the eggs all together, you're supposed to also mix in your bananas. I like to fold those in at the very last step before I put them in my pans, just because I like a little bit of more of a chunkier type of banana bread to give it a little more texture. I guess maybe that's why I don't like to put the nuts in there. I don't know. I just like the flavor of the banana. So I fold mine in instead of blending it in to where it gets real incorporated into the bread and you just have the flavor. I like a little bit of banana pieces in there too. So that's just me. But if you want to have it blended in, maybe you don't like that texture, blend it in with the butter and at that other step with the butter and the eggs and stuff like that. And that's what it calls for in the recipe too. Okay, thanks.
Okay, now I'm going to add flour mixture. Well, just a little bit at a time. And I'm going to stir this by hand. I will not beat this with the blender. So I want to combine this real well all together. My batter is getting a little bit dry, so I'm going to add some of the bananas to it, though not all of them. I just want a little bit of more moisture in here, so I'm going to add some of the mashed banana that I have over here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add all the rest of my bananas. Give these a good stir.
Okay, I have preheated my oven to 350 and it is ready. And I have rubbed softened butter inside each one of my little loaf pans here. And I sprinkled it with the cinnamon sugar that I showed you earlier in the shaker. And I am going to spoon some batter in each one of these little loaf pans. Okay, I filled up all of the little pans there, and into the hot oven they go. Okay, the recipe says that if you have muffin pans, you'll cook these for 20 minutes at 350. And for loaf, you would need to cook it 300 for 1 hour. So it just depends on the size of your little pans that you need to cook with. And I'm going to do the 20 minutes and then I will test it to see if they're ready. Okay, I just pulled them out of the oven. It smells so good in my house right now. My kids are going to be just thrilled when they get home from school and know they have some hot banana bread. I am going to test this with a toothpick just to make sure that it is done. And it's nice and clean, so they are perfectly cooked. That took about, I would say 27 to 30 minutes. just
in
wanted to
this
add
type
one
of
more
pan.
thing about the little bread pans that I'm using. I picked those up about probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, because every year I will make like some kind of little bread or something to pass out to teachers around Christmas or friends and neighbors and things like that. And you know, you have to go and buy those little aluminum bread pans, you know, that you can get like at Michael's or even at the grocery store. And so when I saw these little pans, I picked them up, and I'm so glad that I did. They've already pretty much paid for themselves because, you know, I'd sit down like that once a year and make lots of bread, banana bread, and make 20 loaves at one time, and you have to get all those little loaf pans. And so now these are just in my cabinet. I don't have to go out searching for those little aluminum pans anymore. You know, I used to have to go to like the grocery store and they would sell out, and you have to run over to Michael's and then get them over there, and it's just kind of a hassle. So anyway, I just pull these out of the cabinet. I use them whenever I want to make breads of some sort, and they're nice just to make little servings just like for your family, because you can pop them in the freezer and then just pull them out, and it's just enough for like after dinner, you know, a little dessert after dinner or something like that too. So you don't have to make great big huge loaves of bread or something. But so I picked these up at TJ Maxx Home Stores, which is a great place to buy odd and end type of specialty kitchen utensils or pans and pots and things like that. And also try Marshall's. Marshall's is a really good place too. I probably wouldn't go to, you could probably find these like online or somewhere like Williams-Sonoma or something, but that's just, you're going to pay probably triple at Williams-Sonoma or somewhere like that for these. So just keep your eyes open for them if you think it's something that you'll be cooking or baking regularly.
Okay, I've got the banana bread cut and ready. That's my kids' after-school snack today. Alrighty, there you go, buddy. You want some too?
Yeah.
I might give you some.
Yeah.
There you go. How is it, boys? Alright, I got the thumbs up. Must be pretty good.
Well, under unfettered capitalism, how do you have corporate bailouts? Unfettered capitalism means companies fail, right? So bailouts, government propping up insolvent and faltering institutions is not unfettered capitalism. It is the exact opposite of unfettered capitalism. If capitalism was unfettered, businesses would be allowed to fail. That's capitalism. Capitalism just, you know, it's not just about private gain and socialized losses. It's about private losses as well. It doesn't work if you're trying to play it halfway.